Chapter 15 has to do with the important topic of public relations writing. I separated Chapter 15 and 16 out rather than lumping the two of them together to do them individually one week before the other because the subject of writing is such an important one to public relations people. And oftentimes it gets, ironically, it gets overlooked as we focus on so many other things, and especially in the 21st century with so much on how do we communicate via social media, trying to develop a better website, how to put more bells and whistles into our print publications. We forget that really the most effective means of communicating is through good writing. And there's a difference between writing for the eye and writing for the ear. And that's covered between these two chapters. That will be that'll be covered pretty extensively, and you'll get a chance through the assignment for this week for writing an actual press release to get your hand at crafting what is still a very important communication tool as far as media outreach for companies. So writing it's just a very important thing to do, and a lot of people, as the book says, a lot of public relations people just aren't that good of writers. So if you're looking to get a leg up in the PR business as you go out there, and that's the line of work you want to go into, if you've got a good grasp of writing skills, especially writing as it pertains to public relations, which we'll talk about some of the specifics there later on, it's going to give you a leg up over others who might not have that skill set. So some of the basics, first of all, think before you write. Clarify the ideas and thoughts in your head of what you want to put down in paper. So spend some time on the thought process before you actually begin the actual writing. Sometimes in public relations, as it pertains to crisis communications, you don't have that opportunity. You've got to be kind of thinking on the go. But anytime you got a chance to think about it first, your writing's going to be better because of it. Don't be afraid of the draft. Don't be afraid of the second draft or a third draft. Again, if you're doing a quick turnaround type of writing, you might not have a chance to go through a lot of drafts before you reach a final product. But anytime you can use your editors to fine-tune the copy, to come up with a draft two, and really spend some time on making sure that the words that you use are the specific ones you want to use, crafted in a way that's going to be effective. Simplify and clarify. Avoid the jargon. Avoid lengthy sentences. Make your writing as simple as possible. And that kind of ties into what the book says about the Flesch readability study, which shows ways to really make writing more simpler. And there's lots of great reference books out there that can help you with how to simplify your writing. One of the classic ones is Strunk and White's Elements of Style. Lots of books out there like that will really help you how to tighten your message. Use as few words as possible, but make it as effective as can be. And then finally, a basic is writing for your audience. You just can't shotgun blast a message anymore. You really need to think who is going to be receiving the message that you're writing for, and write the message, write the content in a way that's going to be most effective with them. So again, look at the section that talks about how to make your writing more readable, both in terms of basic writing, but also some good tips the book offers on corporate writing. So, a lot of times corporate writing is perhaps the driest writing that's out there. We think we really can't do much with it. We got to stick with the jargon. We got to stick with what the boss wants. But again, corporate writing, you've got an audience in mind that you're trying to persuade or inform or to motivate. So, really spend some time on that writing, and you can apply some creativity there that you might think you don't have. So I like how they give some examples there in the book of some ways to really make corporate writing a lot more interesting to read. The book then goes on to talking about writing for news and the value of the inverted pyramid, which you're going to want to spend some time focusing on this because this is going to help you with your press release assignment. Inverted pyramid basically it's an upside down pyramid where you're starting with the most important details up front in your lead, in your first one or two sentences or first paragraph, the who, what, why, when, where, and how. And then from there you have, with each subsequent paragraph, each subsequent sentence, you don't have as important of information as you want to get. So with the inverted pyramid, think of what is the most important thing the reader needs to get out of what I'm writing. Get those details in the top, and then take it from there. You can build upon that, enhance upon those things. But if a person were to pick up, say, a press release, the example that's used, just read that first paragraph. Would they have the main information that they needed. So news releases, still an essential communication tool. It's the way that organizations and businesses you try to get their stories across to media. So a news release is a very important tool, and there's certainly a lot of things you need to follow to make it as effective as a tool as possible. It's got to be well written, first of all. So again, applying those concepts that we talked about earlier, what constitutes good writing that would go along with a press release. Localized. In fact, I just came from a seminar today working and talking to a round table of some local reporters here in Fairbanks. And one of the things they talked about, what attracts them to a story more than anything, is it localized? How does it affect our local community? What's the local impact of what you're trying to communicate? So good press releases need to be localized. So especially here in Fairbanks, so Fairbanks media can say, okay, how does this impact, Mr. and Mrs. Fairbanks? And then it has to be newsworthy. You'd be surprised in media how many press releases they get that over stories that just have no news value to them as well. And the book goes on to talk about what constitutes news value. And really a nice way to do that is to pay attention to what's in the news. Watch your local news. Read the Fairbanks Daily News Miner or the Anchorage Daily News and see what type of stories that they are presenting, because that is what they define as being news. So look over the list there that talks about what constitutes news value and apply them when you're trying to make pitches via writing or any other method to local media. The news release style that is used most commonly in public relations is the Associated Press Style Guide. It's like how you apply style to other forms of writing, whether it be MLA or APA. The value of using AP style and using it right is it's going to get noticed by media because you're writing in a way that media writes. So they're going to be more likely to use items from your press release or catch more attention to it if they recognize the fact that it comes from a credible source. When you're writing an Associated Press style, that puts you in the category of being a reliable public relations practitioner because you're aware of how writing's done in this business. So the AP Style Guide is a great book that is definitely your friend if you go into public relations writing. On page 314, it talks about some of the basics of AP style as it pertains to issues such as capitalization and kind of some of the more common areas. Page 315 goes over news release essentials. These are the things that you need to have in your news release to make it most effective. And pay attention to this list because, again, with the press release assignment you'll have this chapter, it's going to really help you out in putting that together. Book then goes on to talk about social media news releases and press releases via the internet, which, of course, is kind of the way things are done these days, although again, in the panel discussion I was at earlier, some of the reporters were saying, we do like our press releases, information to come via electronically, but don't forget about the value of the fax or the value of the phone call either. But email tends to be the most popular way to pitch stories, via the written word. So knowing how it works in social media with Twitter and what are some of the basic style guides for writing a press release via an email message. Finally, this chapter closes with editing and the importance of good editing. Here at the university, I work as a director of marketing and communications, and probably some of my most valuable employees. Well, they're all valuable, but ones that I put a lot of value in are the people who do the editing of our press releases and for the different stories that we send out. Because a good writer is one thing, but a good editor is quite another. The two can make a very powerful team when working together. I'm sometimes amazed with things that I write, send it to one of my editors, and it comes back with so much red ink on it. I'm wondering if we have a shortage in the office of red pens when they're done. But they know their stuff, so good editors are good to come by. So that's the chapter 15 in a nutshell. The next chapter, chapter 16, is also going to talk about more writing, the difference between writing for the eye and writing for the ear. So the two chapters go hand in hand. So that closes off this chapter. We'll see you next time.